Hi, George.
Good morning, Bruno. How are you?
I'm good. Finally, I can hear something or someone.
Yes, I freely admit still some work being done to properly be educated on Microsoft Teams webinars,
Yeah,
and
no,
that's all on me.
I'm not an expert either. I'm a user, not an expert.
And that's part of the challenge, right? It's good we are all able to communicate. Jason, are you able to communicate as well? I think you're on mute right now. Jason?
That might do. Oh,
Steve is back.
yeah. Sorry, guys.
And
Jason says he don't have control of my mic or camera.
yeah, so that's a you problem for
Yeah.
Jason. Um,
Oh, we have Shannon. Someone joined.
Shannon from Unity Credit Union.
Yep, Shannon Drew. I've emailed her before. Perfect. I can. Why don't I boot Jason? Tell him to just jump
He's
back on.
fine. He's fine though. Um, and good morning to everybody who's beginning to join our webinar this morning. Thank you for being able to make the time with us, and we're standing by as our invitees join us. I'm expecting we'll kick this off in 3 to 4 to 5 minutes. See, Bruno's camera is working. The third
Yes.
stream team is here.
You like my new office?
Your office is spectacular. I just live in this, kind of various shades of blue beehive
Oh.
called the third stream background. Got a fair number of people joining us already. We're probably 3 minutes away from being able to kick this off. And for those who've already joined us, thank you so much for your interest and your engagement here. We're kind of timing this we asked for an hour. We're expecting to be able to conclude, depending on questions and so on, but to conclude, obediently or as promised on that hour. For those who've joined, we're probably about 2 minutes out from kicking this off. And thank you again for your participation this morning. Our morning. Device is on mute. Good morning, everyone. We're going to give it another minute or so, and we'll kick ourselves off here. I'm just looking at the attendee count, and we're almost at our complete total of registrants. So, you know, in 30 seconds or so, we'll truly get this underway. But for those who are joining us today already, just say that, you know, we had scheduled an hour for this. Our intention is to be able to certainly hold to that. Sometimes questions will, questions from the audience, which you can do in the chat side of the world here, will take up a little bit more time. And of course, we'll be sharing a copy of this deck later today, and then a copy of the recording itself, you know, as soon as it's been processed and is ready to be shared with the audience. So with that said, good morning, everyone. My name is George Hofsink, and welcome to it's the second in our webinar series. The first one was in December, kicking off a new round of webinars for the year. It was about thirdstream's collaboration with LendDesk and the mortgage origination capabilities that we're bringing to the platform here. Today, we're talking about both the relationship that we've developed with Thales Group in the remote identity verification capability, which is now moving into the in-person identity proofing capability. So we're going to run through just a couple of slides and move very quickly into what Keith will demonstrate is the capability that has now been deployed with a major bank in Canada. And that has the opportunity to extend to both our existing clients who run the thirdstream platform and those who are simply looking to be able to incorporate these capabilities into their banking universes. So with that said, I'll do a quick introduction to the faces you see up here. You know, in the center, in the t-shirt, he's wearing the wrong shirt, is the founder and CEO of thirdstream, Keith Ginter. Keith will be the one who will take us through the demo as we go. You also see Jason Heffron, who comes to us from a long career in fintech, from places like Doxum and others as well. Has joined us about 3 years ago and is in charge of the customer experience, the client experience as we evolve this company as well. You also see Steve Mott, who's joined us from places like Doxum and Lodestar, and again, a long career in fintech as well, has joined us about 6 months in, Steve. And then finally, not finally, but we have from Thales, Bruno Leroux. I'll expand a little bit on folks' relationship to one another. Keith and Bruno have built quite a dynamic relationship that started with the remote identity proofing and identity verification capabilities that thirdstream has proven and deployed, and then has moved on to introduce us to, you know, this new and emerging world that we find ourselves in. So the webinar here today, just very quickly, identity verification and fraud prevention, right? Our focus started with the online capabilities, a lot of which evolved or grew in terms of demand in the COVID era, right? So as financial institutions, many of you who are on this webinar today became clients of thirdstream, also with a focus to bringing the online account opening capabilities to their financial institutions to address what was the, you know, mandated, the stay at home and please don't come out until we tell you to experience that we all went through together. So what we're talking about today is the in-person identity proofing. And here's the quick overview, right? So being able to verify documents in person to make sure that both the document you're holding up and the documents that you are presenting are in fact yours, that they are legitimate, that they are current, and that you are who you say you are. right? That's becoming has a wider range of applications as we go, where folks have begun to apply varying technologies. They are often introducing friction. So what we're doing and what we're going to show you today is how we've developed an approach and a workflow inside our platform. And as I said earlier, running parallel to our platform. So you may not be a thirdstream customer today. You can take this capability forward, just as thirdstream and Thales have deployed this with, as I said, one of the major banks in Canada today. So delivering on the solutions, inside our configurable platform, we can, and Keith will show you how that all comes together. We will be able to show you how you can confidently and quickly take your customers, take your members through that experience, so that you meet compliance capabilities more efficiently and more dependably, and at the same time your customers are not feeling the pain that has traditionally been part of that exercise. What I'd like to do here is, Steve is driving this, but simply do a quick check-in with you guys, the poll question that we had devised, that will give us a little bit of a sense and share with you all kind of where you're all coming from and where you sit today in terms of your needs and how you're fulfilling those. So Steve, if you can drop that on the screen.
It should show up in the chat. Unfortunately, poll is not showing up, so I had to download Bright Poll. So it's a new one. It should show up in the chat with results here. Let me know if you see that or not.
Yeah, I see it here.
Yeah, so basically you should be able to, everyone should be able to click, one of these things. And unfortunately, I can't hide the answers. So we all know your answers and who's saying what. So you can always plead the Fifth Amendment at the end of this meeting. So let me know if that works. And if not, I can try for the second vote another app.
Fair enough. So I'll move us forward, because what I really want to do is to get us to the demo.
Gotcha.
Like there's nothing like actually seeing what's actually in play. So spoke early on, Keith Ginter and Bruno Leroux. Keith is obviously the founder and CEO of thirdstream, and Keith and I have been working together for probably the last 5 years, just from a strategy and product execution perspective as well, Keith. And what we've seen is that world of thirdstream clients now move into banks, trusts, and credit unions across the whole universe that we work in. And simply see our opportunity to expand the story, the deliverables to our clients, to now include so much of this fraud prevention and identity verification service that we're going to talk about today. Keith, did you want to add anything there?
No, absolutely. Again, streamlining the process from an onboarding perspective and creating more integrations and capabilities to ensure that you are who you say you are, and creating a better experience from a member or a staff perspective is really kind of what we're focused on. So excited to be able to show this to you guys today.
Yeah, and Bruno Leroux, and Bruno, I'll turn it over to you in just a second. But Bruno's been that leadership participant. He's been that leadership participant with thirdstream for easily the last 3 years or so, Bruno, just when we started with the remote identity verification capability, and now bringing this forward as well. So Bruno, I'll turn the microphone over to you for just a second to speak to the audience as well.
Nice to meet you all. My name is Bruno Leroux. As you will recognize, I'm French, so sorry for my accent. Yes, we get a chance. In fact, it was a little bit lucky we connect with Keith just before the pandemic. So I think that it changed quite a lot the momentum on the ID verification remote because of this COVID phase. But we expand and we like to work together. And I'm very pleased so that now we are participating to this big project in one of our major customer in Canada, but we are expanding also internationally in US and elsewhere. So very excited with this new collaboration.
And it's such a critical piece that we are learning more and more about, right? The focus was remote identity verification. You are who you say you are, and we don't have to see one another, right? Now what we're seeing is, and the deck that we'll be sharing with you guys has some more information on exactly those points, right? What we're seeing is, a growth and expansion of fraudulent account opening attempts, money transfer attempts, account takeover efforts that involve, what is essentially synthetic fraud and the ability to take government issued ID, fake it, and walk into financial institutions. We're seeing that as reports from other financial institutions. We're hearing some things from the industry that that we're all plugged into, and these are tools designed then to get at defeating that as we go along. And so, a couple slides here, and I'm turning it over to Keith. I promise. But key features you'll see today, right? The user experience, the security capabilities, and the reliability and the accuracy, the dependability of what's being delivered already. The benefits are really what you should start to see in terms of improved security, higher confidence, kind of interaction upon interaction with your customers as you move along, the customers and members as you move along, driving down fraud and then enhancing that user trust, right? So, as somebody who's been through this with the bank experience that Bruno was talking about as well, being able to walk into a branch and then being, conducting a wire transfer and being asked for my government issued ID, which was then scanned to confirm that it was me. I was actually getting apologies from the member service representative, and I'm saying, no, I'm really good with this. The fact that I'm about to send a $40,000 wire transfer, and you're double checking that I am who I say I am, and that money is not being taken out of my account when it shouldn't be, is a reassuring thing, right? So that's really what got me so interested in all of this as well. So with that said, Keith, I'm going to turn it over to you as we get into the demo portion of our programming.
Sounds great. And George, just a reminder, I never did receive that $40,000 wire, so you might want to check with your bank and make sure that you had my account information proper there. Awesome. All right. Thanks, everyone. Hey, Steve, if you could advance to the next slide here as well, please. Just a kind of interesting fact, a fun fact. So when we take a look at the IDs that we've got from a Canadian perspective, so whether it's your PR card, passport, driver's license, there's actually several light spectrums that are embedded or baked into the ID. And so when you take a look here at these documents, top and bottom, you can see the different lights. So the first one is the visual light spectrum, so what you see when you actually look, when you're looking at it. Next would be the ultraviolet, which is, again, another set of controls or mechanisms that are in that ID. And then the last is the infrared. And so again, you can see kind of if a fraudster, if a bad actor was looking to create these false IDs, with the technology that we've deployed with Thales group here, what it's doing is it's actually investigating the 3 different light spectrums to make sure that the visual patterns, the templates, what ought to be there is there. So again, just a bit of a fun fact. When Bruno showed me this the first time, I thought, geez, our Canadian documents are actually a work of art, not just a functional piece of ID. What I'll do is I'm going to share my screen here. Let me know when you guys can see, George. If you can let me know when you can see my screen here, that'd be awesome.
I see a lovely background.
Perfect. And so what I've done, guys, is I've just, here, I'm going to pause this now. I've just recorded this. I ran through the demos last night. Just I'm bouncing from desktop through to mobile device, and it's a bit kludgy, a bit clunky if I try to do it in a live kind of demo of sorts, or kind of like this. So what I've done is recorded it, and I'll just kind of give you the voiceover. You can see here a Assiniboine Credit Union, one of our clients out in Manitoba, have launched our retail deposits online, become a member online. And so I'll just run through this process here. Again, you're kind of at the homepage of ACU. They say, do you want to become a member? Click the button here to join today, which bounces right into thirdstream from a new member onboarding perspective. So this is the thirdstream platform running here. Again, let folks know it's going to take you just a few minutes to run through the process, capture your email address and your phone number, and we'll use this to send messages and links to individuals as they run through the process. We can also send SMS codes or one-time passcodes to that mobile device to ensure that the user is in control of this device as well. When we run through the process, again, this is more so on the thirdstream platform itself. We're getting to the IDV piece, I promise. But as we run through the process here, we'll make sure that the individual applying for an account does indeed meet the criteria. Again, if you're a provincially regulated FI, then making sure that they kind of live in or work in the province that you do business in. As we come through here, I select a checking account, get offered the upsell of a savings account. So for sure, I will take that. And I'll go ahead and click continue here. And this is the piece here. Let me pause just so I can chat on this. So this is a piece here where we're going to start to capture the information on the individual, again, in a remote capacity. So I'm sitting at home, becoming a member, not coming into the branch. And what we let the applicant know is to speed up the process, what we can do is send you a link to your mobile device or your email, so either a text message or an email, to your device, and then you can pick up that session on your mobile device and then take a photo of your ID and take a selfie. And so all of this process satisfies FINTRAC's single source government ID method. So what that stipulates is if you can prove that a piece of government issued photo ID is valid and authentic. So valid meaning it's got all the right, or valid meaning it's not expired, and authentic meaning it's got all the right visual patterns. So remember those three images that we showed you of the visual, the infrared, and the ultraviolet. So long as all those pieces are in place, there's no evidence of image tampering, and by way of a selfie that the individual applying for this account matches the photo on that ID, again, that satisfies FINTRAC from a single source. So here what I'll do is click next, and then you'll see the screen kind of bounce over where I changed it to my phone or my iPad as I went through the process here. Here it's just bouncing over, and clicking the link, this is what comes up is the process for the photo ID. So you'll see here, you have the option to take a photo of the front of your ID, and you'll see my handsome Alberta driver's license here. Come through the process, and again, you can see from a web SDK perspective, the system will guide the user to say, hey, your device is a little too far away from the ID, or it's too close, and so it really, again, improving success rates there. In this case here, I actually have glare. So you'll see as we run through here, I've got a bit of glare on the photo, and the system's going to say, hey, wait a minute, you need to take another photo because there's the image quality isn't proper. So we're providing real-time feedback to the applicant or to the individual as well to make sure that the quality of the photo is such that we can analyze it properly and use it to, again, satisfy that FINTRAC method. And now you'll get my selfie. You'll see me in my home office here. Oh, I have my thumb over my camera. Let it run through, take a photo, and then what'll happen is we then send all these images up to the Gemalto or the Thales ID KYC service, where it'll then analyze the ID. It'll determine whether or not it's authentic, it's valid. And then here, so let me pause again. And so what happens then is as soon as I finish the process on my mobile device, so in this case, I finished it on my tablet, I bounce back to my screen here from a desktop perspective, and the screen will refresh and says, hey, whatever you needed to do, you did, thank you very much. And then I'll go ahead and click continue to play, and you'll see the information coming behind the scenes here. When I click continue, then it'll populate the application form with all the data that we could get from my ID. And here you go. So what we've been able to do is kind of, again, kill two birds with one stone, so to speak, where we can verify that, hey, this is valid ID. This is not a bad actor, not a fraudulent application. We satisfy FINTRAC from a single source photo government issued ID method. And then we pre-populate the applications form as well to create a better experience from a customer onboarding perspective. So that's the online piece. And then I'm going to bounce into the in branch here. And again, what I did is took a video here. Let me pause this. I have my my setup here in my home office. And again, it's one where I got, my wife's got that little selfie halo, if you guys have ever seen that thing. So I had it set up here. And what we've got is in the forefront here, you'll see the Gemalto scanner. So Gemalto has a couple of different scanners that we've deployed. One is this one here, which is called a toaster scanner. It's a toaster because it kind of functions like a toaster. You put your ID in the top, it'll drop down, and then once it's done, it'll kind of zip back up. And then there's also a flatbed, or as Bruno likes to call it, a flatbread scanner, which will allow for the flatbed to take a photo of or to take a scan of your passport. So again, two different deployments that can be enabled here. But what we'll do in behind the scenes, and again, we'll share this video with you guys as well if it doesn't demo exactly great on this webinar. But in behind the scenes, I've got the web application that's used to then capture the ID. So I'll go ahead and click start, and you'll see this process run through. So I say I've got the scanner that I'm after. I go to capture, and it'll say, hey, you need to drop the ID in the scanner, which I just did. And then in behind the scenes here, I'll pause again. In behind the scenes, what's happening is the scanner itself is taking a photo of the front and the back of the ID at the same time, because it is a driver's license that has, again, photos on the front and the back. It'll be analyzing, again, all those light spectrums, the visual, the infrared, and the ultraviolet. It'll also be comparing the data on the back. So within I have an Alberta driver's license, there's information that's on the front that will OCR, so get the data from there. And then there's also a barcode that sits on the back of the ID. And then there'll be a comparative to say, hey, does the information encoded in the barcode match the information that's at the front of the ID? So again, all this happens, and I paused it here, but it's about a 5-second process to scan the ID. You'll see here it's going to shoot up in just a second. It's uploading. See, in behind the scenes, we're uploading there. My ID scan there pops back up, uploading the photos to the ID service. And now you can see the results here. Let me see if I can zoom. I can't really zoom in all that great. I think I will zoom in a bit. But what you'll do then, and what we produce back, is an extract of the ID. So this just happens to be my mugshot from my Alberta driver's license. And what the intent here is that the staff member would confirm that, yeah, this is the individual that I see right across from me. And so I'll go ahead and, oh, here we go. So I zoom in so you can see my photo, say, yes, this is the right person. I'll go ahead and approve it. And then in behind the scenes here, again, I'll pause here. You'll see all the information that's been extracted from that ID. So here's my name, my date of birth, address, the ID type, the ID number, and the expiration date. And so again, to Bruno's point, what we've done is launch this with one of the big 5 banks here in Canada, where it's being used as a standalone service. So it's the first point of contact that folks will have when coming into the branch, where if there's a need to physically identify somebody. So there's I'm looking to open up an account. I lost my debit card. I need to replace my debit card. As George said earlier, making a large dollar wire transfer or cash transactions. So whenever there's a need to physically identify somebody, this will be the first kind of step in the process. And from our perspective, I think as George mentioned, from an in-branch account opening perspective, so a lot of you guys on the call today have our current ThirdStream clients and have deployed our in-branch capabilities. So the idea that somebody comes into the branch, they want to open up a new account, become a new member, become a customer of your bank, they'll run through ThirdStream's RDI, or Retail Deposits in-branch module. And so what we're doing now is actively kind of integrating this scanner capability to our in-branch account opening solution or platform, right? So then the idea is the first step will be drop your ID into the scanner, make sure that it is a good actor, it's the right person, then pre-populate all the information within that in-branch staff assisted module in the same manner that you did see the online piece that I went through earlier. So that's kind of the process front to back. I'll stop sharing my screen here. I know we probably have some more polls, or did the polls work, George, or where are we at on the poll side?
We're proceeding with them.
Oh, awesome.
I say the first day with the Microsoft Teams poll, right? So the question we asked on this last one was, how do you verify account holder identity in person today, right? Where 70% of the respondents talked about staff inspection, manual staff inspection, right? So 10% refer to comparing against file copies, which has its own level of challenges as well, both in terms of the friction you create with your account holders and your members, and also with the reliability on that particular capability, and then relying on secondary inspection, and 15% talk about having an automated solution. So, and I was one of them. but that's insightful, right? Because I think it kind of highlights an area where we're seeing that from clients as well. They're saying, how do you, or how can you help us kind of either leverage the platform we have with you to the platform position we have with you today, or in fact, kind of stand alone. We do other things in other areas, but how can your in-person identity proofing help us along, right? So, and again, in this major bank environment that we're participating in today, the focus is precisely that, right? That particular set of use cases is what we are addressing along the way. Now I'm about to launch one more that is a ranking question. So there's no right or wrong to this, but I am curious where people use or see the value of in-person identity proofing, right? So I'm particularly curious because that's what people call me, Curious George, because God knows they have. People's reaction to this and people's view of how this can work in their financial institutions today. So you'll see that in just a moment as Bruno and Keith, as you talk amongst yourselves as well.
For sure. And Bruno, maybe you can share a bit of the kind of your perspective from a Thales kind of side of the plate in terms of what you're seeing through this deployment that we've successfully launched.
Yeah, what is interesting is that it's not something which was linked with one particular financial institution. In fact, during 2023, we have seen many traction from major customer in US and Canada looking for this type of solution. And I was a little bit surprised. In fact, I was thinking that it may come as, eventually as a mean or as a complement to, for example, making remediation to maintain the file. So we were thinking it will come that way. What happened is that it starts with one of my customer in Central America, where they start to make this systematically. When I say systematically, is that they were using this type of methodology or method to make authentication. And so we saw like an increase of the volume. And then it came to US and Canada, where I'm generally dealing, because of the nature of Thales, we are dealing with very large customer, where they were not asking for one method or where to equip one branch, but systematically to equip all the branches. So this is like definitively a trend that we identify, and that's also one of the reasons that we start the collaboration, because we think that it's not only like a one-time demand. This is something which is going to converge. And what happened, in fact, talking with a customer, is that I get the feeling, and this is my assumption, that because of the COVID, in fact, everyone tried to secure the digital online channels. And then after their reopening, like when it was the end of a restriction, all the customers say that they face a lot of fraud in the branch. So like suddenly, in fact, the fraud which used to be online moved from the digital channel to the physical channel. And I've been exposed to some number, which of course I cannot communicate, but it can be massive, like definitively a very large number, which basically just like 1/4 of fraud will pay for the solution for 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where, again, this is important for us to kind of bring this to market, because again, where we focus is origination and onboarding, right? Creating a better experience, whether it's online from a new customer member perspective, or whether it's that in branch and creating a better staff experience. So where we do hear that there are challenges from that in branch fraud and folks trying to dupe the system, so to speak, it just really made a lot of sense for us to partner with Thales here and bring us to market. It's pretty excited about what we've been able to achieve.
And I want to add something which is a little bit technical, but it makes sense, because in fact the audience is really involved in IT in the branch. One of the reasons also this type of solution was not existing is not because we were not having a scanner. In fact, one of the things, again, which is very particular to this scanner, is that they are network scanner. meaning that basically the scanner are not connected to a workstation. And that's one of the issues that we face many times, that the branch, the IT of the organization, they didn't want to plug a device into a workstation because it will breach the, I would say, the security of a device. So thanks to this new scanner that we produce, and I think that there is only few companies in the world able to make this, those are basically network devices. So it means that one of the things that maybe it was not so obvious in the video of Keith is that the scanner is not connected to the PC. The scanner is connected to the network. So it's like basically like having a network printer that you plug into your network. And that was a very essential aspect, at least for the first deployment, because in fact, they didn't want to install any software on the workstation. They didn't want to plug a device using USB because it will, I would say, jeopardize all the security that they have put in place. So like the combination of what we have done for ID verification, the ability of thirdstream to develop a web application, combined with the possibility to communicate with a scanner just using wire or wireless connection without plugging, I think that's where suddenly it was making sense for the customer to adopt this type of technology.
Yeah, and Bruno, when we were provisioning them for that that initial launch, what did you say? It was like less than 5 minutes is what it was taking to provision?
No, and we learned from, I mean, I don't want to make all this conference about Thales, but we learn the hard way, because in fact, we made a deployment back in 2 years ago in another context, dealerships. And then we face a lot of issues deploying this type of scanner because there was a lot of network issues. So now, in fact, we have integrated this capability so that once the network configuration is recorded or registered into the system, deployment of a scanner is literally 5 minutes. In fact, our one of the big customers, they deploy one single person in GTA, they deploy 8 branches in 1 day.
Awesome.
Excellent.
For
both of you, for both of you, the question for you. I mean, you came together around the specific need of this bank, right? From a Canada perspective and from being able to serve the market perspective. What brought the bank into the conversation in the first place? Part of that, Bruno, would have been the emergence of fraud that they were experiencing coming out of the COVID period as well. But talk a little bit about what drove the interest and what attracted them to what thirdstream and Thales have been able to pull together here.
Well, it's a little bit the way around, George, if I may. It's like we were already, working with a customer. We are making hundreds of thousands of transactions with them online in different channels. But we were also able, as I mentioned, able to deploy in dealership where they were partnering with. So they saw our ability to do that. But it was the way around. In fact, they come back to us and say, please help us. So it's not like we push. In fact, they push.
Right.
They say, okay, please help us do something, because in fact we have a major crisis in terms of fraud with major loss, which I've been exposed to. So they say, please do something, and it was natural for us to work with thirdstream, because the ability and the capability to design a website in a very short amount of time. So but basically, yes, it was a round. And then in parallel, in fact, I was receiving a lot of RFP asking for the same thing, but we were not, planning to develop anything on Thales by itself, because for some reason, Thales is more specialized in server than, in the front end. So the partnership totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Best of both, I would say.
Yeah, and you could leverage what you'd done before, and you could be able to move. You could expedite being able to deliver for the bank, and then that
exactly.
kind of brings us to today's conversation to say, if this applied so well in that bank environment, obviously it has cases across banks and credit unions that are part of the group that has joined us here today.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to diverge, but for this type of solution, every time you need an ID verification, can be useful. So like we are put in some other direction, like how can you make the same thing in a hotel environment, hospitalities. There is a lot of, demand also from the automotive sector. Everywhere where you need to validate an ID, which seems to be more and more every day. In fact, everyone is starting to control the ID. And the reason is that because the ID is the key to prevent the fraud. So like, you are going anywhere, you have two-factor authentication, which are appearing here and there. Like it's not possible to connect to a website whether, you have to receive a text. Now, like please put your one-time password. So the demand for ID verification is very strong. I think it's, I'm coming back, I told you I was coming from France, and I think that the French/European perspective is that they don't trust you unless you prove it. And when I came to Canada and North America, it was like a long time ago now, but basically there was a feeling of trust. You trust the people, and then you verify eventually after. There is a change of paradigm. In fact, now they are not trusting so much, not anymore. Maybe it's a change of population then, and they want to verify first. So like this is more like a moving to the European approach. And, I mean, sorry for the digression, but I'm feeling this, I am seeing this happening.
Yeah, and that's a good observation, because you're seeing now the various levels of the FinTrack, FinCEN, all the different regulatory agencies too that are starting to put more and more putting in place more and more rules that creating more expense for financial institutions and other organizations, but financial institutions, and more friction for customers, right? For their
and this is the balance, the sweet spot that we think I think that we have found, is that on one side there is more and more restriction, regulation, or control of security, so increasing the friction. But on the other side, they want to develop the convenience. And the convenience is like, do the things online, do the thing fast, so that the customer is seamless for the customer. And that's always the balance between the two.
Question, guys. Sorry, as I was trying to get through polls and George fixed it in a minute. There's a number of comments. Did we touch on in the QA section? Have we covered some of those?
Let's have you take us through those, Steve, just to make sure that
I just grabbed it just and apologize if we've touched on them. So there's one from, if I go forward back, that was 5 minutes ago, so we better go. Kelsey had a question about FinTrack and government. Oh, and I just lost the screen. Oh, sorry, guys. Kelsey had FinTrack acceptable government issued photo ID. The scanner does not verify, so like Nexus cards, passport cards, stuff like that. So I guess the question is, does it accept cards like that or not, and various cards?
Bruno, you want to talk about the scanner's capabilities across the various IDs?
The scanner, we have two models of scanner which were not shown because, I think it will be in the document that you are going to diffuse, George. But there is two types of scanner. There is one type which is only able to take some credit card size documents, so like basically driver license. What we are deploying currently is more like scanner which are able to scan not only this type of document but also the passport. So it's a little bit larger, and it's only one side, so you have to flip the document. So we are able to do that. Regarding the Nexus, I need to check. I think that we are supporting the Nexus documents.
Oh, you can't see it. That's a Nexus card. Nexus card is basically a trusted traveler used a lot in Canada as a form of ID. So I would assume so. It's the same size as a driver's license. So excellent. Okay, great question, Kelsey. I hope that answers it. If not, throw a comment in the chat. Tracy had a question. Was there a change in the RDO text, Gemalto photo and scan? It seemed even more user-friendly. Is a Gemalto scan now mandatory in the self-serve process? Or can potential new members still bypass?
Yeah, I can take
So-
that one.
Yep.
Really, again, from our perspective, guys, it's a configuration question more than it is a technical capability, right? So we've got some clients that will, and those of you that have sat through my demo and you remember my little kind of workflow and all the calls that we can make to verify identity, mitigate fraud, credit, all that fun stuff, right? And so we'll have some clients that will say, hey, let's exhaust the call it the passive calls that need to happen. So whether it's to AML Assist or Endstream, I think Janice Masadi from Endstream is on the call here, so a little shout out to our partner over at Endstream. So whether it's a call to credit bureaus, telco providers, bank account verifications, again, we can configure those series of calls in any manner that really kind of supports the risk appetite, if you will, from a financial institution. And so we'll have some clients that make it mandatory at the front, kind of, again, going in with eyes wide open to understand that perhaps you're going to see some drop off because a little more friction where, hey, now I got to go grab my photo of my ID as opposed to hitting the Equifaxes and Endstreams in behind the scenes. But again, from our perspective, highly configurable in terms of the sequence in which we make those calls and whether we demand that somebody run through that process or not. Hope that answered your question, Tracy.
Yeah, and Tracy, again, make a comment if not. There's a question from Caitlin as well. Caitlin is asking, is there any capability now or future plans to incorporate sanctions to screen names against external or internal watch lists on new account applications?
Yes, absolutely. And that's something we didn't even talk about today, but we do have that in place today with our good friend Bruno over at the Thales. So there's a couple of APIs that we leverage with them today. One is the ID KYC service that you just saw, again, both from a remote perspective as well as from an in-branch. But there's also the AML service that will hit Dow Jones Factiva, a whole bunch of different watch lists and OFAC lists, and maybe Bruno, I don't know if you want to speak to kind of more detail around the AML API capabilities that we support today?
No, you said it all. In fact, I don't want to spend hours on this. In fact, we are able to check the name, across 500 lists or blacklist, like a list of bad guys. So yes, we have all this ability, and I think
awesome.
No need to talk. It is very simple. In fact, you put the name and then you receive a hit, and then you have a possibility to go and dig, if there is a hit.
Excellent.
And you'll
Thanks,
all
Caitlin.
receive that. Yeah, thank you. And you'll all receive that in the content that we'll distribute after this webinar as well. So I had one final question, poll question I've put out there, which is really about the timelines for enhancing, to the extent that folks are even thinking about that or thinking of that as a 2024-25 type of imperative. Looking for responses here is kind of interesting. We're looking at 11, 12, it's growing. Folks reporting they don't know, and some of that may be just simply, the role, the people who are focused on those things might not be all of the ones who are on this call. But, then also looking at those who are actively looking within this year as this being a priority, which is consistent, I think, with what we're seeing in a lot of our client conversations as well. And then,
awesome.
And then interestingly, to share with you all, because what we'll do is we'll share the results from the 4 questions that we've asked, in a follow-up with you all. But looking at the question about do you or would you use in-person identity proofing, and then if so, what for, and how would you rank that, right? So account opening comes in, at by far the largest area, and I think that's something that people, logically gravitate to, right? That's a space that thirdstream is in, and it's a space that folks are familiar with. But then also large transfers and the verifying of cash transactions, which is, we're finding a growing area of interest in among U.S. financial institutions as well. Obviously, living under somewhat different regulatory paradigm as well, different set of rules from regulatory bodies, but seeing the interest and demand. I think Bruno, you talked about this as well, right? for large transfers, verifying you are who you say you are when there's a lot of cash involved. And then also at that convenience level, being able to support lost cards. Hi, I lost my wallet. I lost, that sort of thing, which if I've lost my wallet, I may also have a driver's license or other type of identity verification challenge, having done that recently myself. And then but also automating KYC. And Keith, you might talk about that a little bit as we've been on that journey with some clients, or you're looking to keep up with and reduce the friction in the business of proving who you say you are, and updating your original identity documents for the financial institution.
Yeah, absolutely, right. So whenever there is the need to update ID, or we don't have current ID on file, again, when we have that first point of contact where we're able to then kind of scan the ID, ensure that it is valid, authentic. Again, those of you that are thirdstream customers today, you understand that we've got that full kind of read-write access into the core banking systems and can retrieve kind of anything that's out of date as an existing member perhaps, or existing customer, kind of runs through the onboarding, the account opening process, and identify that, hey, the ID that we did have on file seems to have expired. What we can do is, again, kind of pull that information from the scanner to update the file kind of in one fell swoop. So really, again, mitigating that fraud, mitigating the challenges of kind of bad actors, but at the same time, keeping up-to-date records from a core perspective, as well as kind of what the thirdstream solution offers.
Got a good question from Kelly Tilsner here from Coastal. Hi, Kelly. How does this solution fit in with the other solutions that are in play with thirdstream, like Equifax Fraud IQ Manager and Digital IT, and within the digital IT space? Good question.
Yeah, absolutely, Kelly. And again, this would be another kind of addition to that kind of ever-growing list of participants in the thirdstream ecosystem. And this one more geared, obviously, towards that in-branch capability, right? So those of you that do run our kind of retail deposits or commercial deposits in branch, understanding that kind of folks are coming in to either become a member of your credit union or open up a subsequent account, this then becomes the first stopping point, if you will, to say, hey, we're glad that you decided to become a member of Coastal. What we'll do is look for your ID, let's drop it into the scanner here, and then that will, again, be the initial step of the process to verify that, yeah, ID is good, isn't a bad actor, and then that data feeds into the RDI platform. So all the other elements that exist, right, whether it's Fraud IQ Manager or Threat Metrics or Endstream or others, still remain in place. This is just an added layer, again, to improve security and create some efficiencies from an in-branch perspective. You bet.
Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, so we built this for an hour, and we are at 10:47 Pacific, and I'm going to do a final call out for questions and do a quick round table, or throw the microphone back to Bruno and Keith to wrap this up. But we'll give you back some time if that, if no one objects.
Yeah.
So Keith, Bruno, maybe over to you, and then wrap it up with Keith. And if there's any final questions, Steve, you're monitoring the chat, and we'll get those in.
Yeah, I would start and say thank you for this opportunity to present the solution and to demonstrate our collaboration. As as I was saying, basically we have a very good complement between Thales and thirdstream. And thirdstream ability to design a solution in a record amount of time is unbelievable. And I think that we are looking forward to extend this partnership. And I will be there. I'm generally not in front of you. I'm in the background, answering eventually the question, educating the staff. So I'm there, but I'm very glad that we established this partnership 3 years ago, and then keep rolling and growing.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Bruno. It's been great from our end as well. Absolutely. Yeah, and I guess if that's everything, thanks everybody for attending. Thanks for taking some time out of your morning or afternoon, depending on where you're calling us from. Again, really excited to be able to bring this to the space, and then look forward to kind of feedback from you. I know we'll be reaching out and kind of getting your guys' take on kind of what you thought on what you saw and applicability and such. So again, really do appreciate the great turnout and again the interaction and engagement here.
Thank you all, and have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week.
Thank you, George.
Awesome. Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you
Ian.
all.
Bye now.
Bye.
I'm just leaving it on for a sec because people are still saying comments.